Alright guys, so there's your water pump. You guys notice that one looks pretty shiny, doesn't it? And if you look right here, I'm seeing it for the first time. Right there, they busted that bolt off flush. Well, our motor here looks really good. Not bad at all. For however many mystery miles we don't know that are on it. Alright, got the trans pan out. Nothing terrible on the oil or on the trans filter, looks fine. Definitely a trans that hasn't been serviced in a while. Yep, nobody has ever been here. Nope, no rust, nothing. Nope, it's all gone. I tell you, I buy nothing but the best. So I got the van turned around. It's been a couple days here. I got the wheel off. I've been looking at this leaf spring and listening to my wallet make sad noises. So that's a problem right there. That leaf is secured by gravity. Like if you jack this van up, that leaf is gonna pop out. Yeah, this leaf is currently secured by gravity. That is a big, big problem. They do make these springs. They all-wheel drive ones are different than the front-wheel drive ones. So they are replaceable. So that's cool. But the problem is gonna be, will it come out of the rear shackles? And these shackles are different. It looks like they're like a two-piece, so they bolt on. So you get these nuts off. I bet you could. It's just a matter of if the lower bolt comes out of those bushings there. That's gonna be the thing. So yeah, that's. I mean, you could always do a through bolt sort of deal. I can make that work. Just don't ruin the shackles. But yeah. I can't ignore that. It's gonna bother. Now that I know it's there, you hit a good bump or something stupid and that thing comes off, you're gonna have a fun time. I don't think it would go anywhere with everything else hooked to it, but I don't know if that I don't know. That's not good. I'm gonna tell you right now, that shouldn't be like that. This is bad, as you can see, but you can replace those, but wow, look, now all these, so this is disconnected. These are all connected by nothing, so you know. That's cool. That needs replaced, but you can use a hose clamp or something stupid for that. But okay, so I think it's $1.85 per spring plus shipping if I order them new, and then I also got to order the bushings and then hope these shackles come apart. I was doing some looking on Carpart for like salvage yard listings and stuff, and there's a place not too far, I should say, that says they've got two springs. I sent them an email. Hopefully the shackles are still. I don't see why they would split the shackles. I assume they'd leave it together. If they've got both springs, they're only $65 a piece. I don't have to pay shipping, and I can go get them, and then I don't have to deal with the shackles, and they're just bolt on. That, I think, is the way to go. Okay, so I am gonna probably go with the junkyard springs because I don't want to deal with that whole leaf spring fiasco. So whether or not the yard I emailed has them or not, or if I have to drive further, whatever, I'm gonna get used ones. That's gonna be the more cost-effective way right now, I think. Subject to change, but I did do some digging, and I had two of these that I bought a while ago. I bought a bunch of NOS Sensitrack shocks on clearance a couple years ago, and it looks like I had two more matching ones left. So these are gonna go in there and replace those crappy-looking ones. So that'll be nice. That will be very, very nice. And they both work. I just pumped them up. They're good to go. Alright, so that carpet and the backing got all dried out. Got it all put back in. I vacuumed it up. Vacuum floor mats, got them all back in. Got this seat bolted in. Good to go. Got all the trim in. The driver's seat, I got to repair some rust on the bottom of the framing. And also, I want to try repair that cut piece in the seat bottom. I'll let you know when I'm done with that, and I'll show you how it turned out, I guess. Well, I might be opening a can of worms. I probably shouldn't, but we're kind of digging into this quarter panel here. And I got it ground back on the outside here pretty well, and I've kind of dug out all of the loose stuff here, but I'm trying as hard as I can here to keep this shape here. There's a little bit of metal here, so at least I got something to form to. I gotta dig up here. This is gonna come apart just like this. It's gonna end up something like that as well. And I think what we'll do is we'll probably fold a piece of metal in the back side here and kind of probably panel bond it up here to where we can, and then use that to fill. This ain't gonna be like a weld job or anything. This is gonna be can we make this fender last a couple more years, or quarter panel I should say. Make it look better, how about that? Because it's pretty bad under here. Yeah, don't look down there. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And I mean, this is just knocking the loose stuff off with a screwdriver and a grinder. Stick your head up back there. She's pretty rotten. So. Yeah, not very good. So, my plan is to keep knocking out all of the loose rust best we can. Back here, I'm kind of just gonna do that. Put the plastic back over it. I don't know. I'll at least spray it and treat it. Kind of try neutralize it a little bit, and then we'll hit it with that fluid film black and just get a good coating on it. Slow it down so it doesn't keep going that way. As far as this goes, we're gonna have to fill this with fiberglass, and then we'll have to skim coat it. I'm not taking this off because if I try to take this off, I'll never get it reattached again. Right now it's solid. There's somehow this right here is not completely rotted out. And that's kind of holding this panel. So we're going to leave this here and we'll kind of fill this. I'm going to scrape it with sandpaper best we can get in here. I got to come up with some sort of backing so we can put the fiberglass to it. And I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. If I'm just going to fold the license plate and self-tapper up here and fold it into place and just kind of fill. I think that's what we're going to do. Just kidding, this side's bad too. It's not as bad, so we got a strip here that needs, and then this will just get sanded down and filled, I think. Just this little spot. This is good through here. This metal's solid down all through here. All the way down to about there. You can see where it's not, but that doesn't matter. I don't think I showed you guys how the rear hatch turned out. Pretty good, actually. Pentastar obviously on there. This, whatever glue they used etched into the paint really bad. But I got it so it doesn't look as obvious. And then it polished out okay. Looks pretty good with that new Chrysler badge on there. Whoops. Alright, she's not that pretty, but we did get these holes patched up here. I stuffed it with like that fiberglass matting, and then I used some fiberglass resin to fill and soak it. And then we just used some filler putty, and then it's just 400 grit sanded. It's not perfect. It'll be a lot better than 2 holes, or 4 holes I should say. Good enough for me. Alright, sorry if the updates are a little sparse here, but I'm just kind of plugging away here and there as I can. So I rust treated all of the rust, and now I've sprayed rust converter on it. That'll kind of encapsulate it, what's left. And that's looking pretty good. I got up in here pretty well too, as you can see, but not perfect. I'm gonna have to touch it up. I didn't have a, you know what, that's in between the panels is what it is, because there's like 3 layers of panels here. And that's how this rust starts, is it gets down on the inside here. And it gets between the panels, and then it rots it out. So now that we've carved it away, it's better. And we're going to primer this. And once we primer it, that's when we're going to come in, make some sort of backing, and then fiberglass this. And then once we fiberglass it, we'll use some actual putty and fill it and kind of get it filled. How about that? So we're looking pretty good on this side. I did get up here. I don't know if I pointed that out. I got these filled and sanded. I'm waiting on color match paint. That's not going to be in for another week or so. I got this side taped off. The rust isn't as significant on this side, but I did get it treated. I haven't scuffed this yet. I don't know. I'll probably paint the whole quarter, because then you just don't paint up to the line, but kind of use this as your overspray line where you're blending. We'll use that body line here kind of to match it, I guess. Looking pretty good down here. I did punch a new hole through right there. As that's all treated. What I'm going to do now, last thing I'm going to do for the night here, so I'm going to pull the roof rack down. I got some bumper and plastic paint, and we're going to repaint this whole thing, get it nice and shiny black. So that'll be cool. Otherwise, we're making progress. I'm still waiting on the seal for the overrun clutch, and then I've got all the brake stuff to do, but I'm kind of trying to do it all at once when I pull apart. I'm waiting on a callback for the leaf springs still. But it's the holidays, so who the hell who the heck knows when that's going to occur. But, you know, trying to not have to do multiple things at once, and try not to tear it apart before I have the parts, because then it makes it undrivable. Right now it still moves under its own power when I put the wheels back on it. But I'll probably get to the brakes here at some point soon. But I think I'm going to focus on some bodywork here, at least here and there. I'm waiting on the vinyl adhesive on the driver's seat to dry. And it said 6 hours. It's been 6 hours. It's pretty hard to surface, but I don't think it's fully cured because I slathered all of it because that was such a big area to fill. I'm kind of just filled it. And then tomorrow I'll heat the texture into it, and then I'll mix up the color, and hopefully I get something close. And then the seat can go back in, then the interior is all done. And that'll be that. Oh, I might have screwed up. I didn't think these would fight me. But, yeah, they're pretty rusty, if you can see there. It's got a little bit of thread locker on it, but that's nothing. It's more, I think it's thread sealant more than anything, but look at the rust. Those are the ones that came out. About half of them on both sides, well, more than half on that side, they spin. The thread inserts in the body are spinning. So what I've done, essentially, is I've just opened up a bunch of potential water leaks. Because one, so what this has got is like double-sided sticky tape under here, kind of like it kind of acts as a barrier, I would say. But also these are direct into the body, as you can see. This one didn't spin, but a lot of the others did. This one started to go, and then it's currently spinning. The one on that side actually pulled out of the body, so problem. That is a problem. So this isn't going to come off unless these come out. And now it's kind of sitting to where it's going to be a problem. So all this junk that was in there. There's a lot more on the driver's side, but uh-oh. And I tried prying up and hitting it with the impact here, and no, they're done. They're stuck together. And then you got this proprietary guy, which spins with a vice grip. This one came out on this side, the other side spun. But yeah, uh-oh. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about that, actually. Slight issue. I got to think on it. I don't know. I might just send the other screws back home, clean this up, and take some clear silicone and seal around it and seal the bolt holes, just to kind of make it so it doesn't leak, and then tape it off and paint it up here. Probably what I should have done. I didn't want to deal with the taping. I wanted to set it on a set of, what do you call this? What do you call it? Sawhorses, and just paint it that way. I didn't think these would fight me like they did. Dang it. Alright, so I've got all of the rust deleted on, let's just say that. Looks the best it's looked so far, that's for sure. That's not too bad. We'll be able to fill that and make it look pretty-ish again. Yikes, that's pretty advanced. But it's all on the inside too. And both sides. So, there you go. Still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the roof racks yet. Okay, so I cut my losses. This is what I got going on right here. I did mask it off, taped off up underneath it, and then just used some cloth here just to cover it up. I didn't have any plastic. But what I'm going to do is get this painted. We're going to tighten it down where we can, and then I'm going to take some clear silicone, and I'm going to do a small bead around the whole thing and around these, just to ensure we don't get water in here. And I did take an air compressor and blow all the stuff out from under it. So got to do it on this side, got to do it on that side. And then here's my ugly patch. I was asking quite a lot out of this huge patch in that little kit. The little kit's for like little dings like this. Anyway, we filled all that, and then I painted it this morning. I couldn't get the color match quite right, and then you can see where I had to do some touch-up paint and do it a second time. So the way this kit works is you get the adhesive on there, let it cure under the cloth that is now there, and then you have your base. And then you take your color here and you dab it and fill it. And then you put the, well, the color's still wet, you put that little, texture thing over it, tape it down, and then you take an iron and you heat up your little guy and you dab it in. But I had such a big space, I took the iron and I heated up the thing, and it cured, and it's okay. And it's, you know, the shape of the seat, and it's not that yellow foam, and it's not tore. So that's what we're going to go with. that is a big improvement for a pretty tore seat. And you know, it's here, it's holding, so we're good. Alright, the roof rack is painted on both sides. I did do silicone going across, as you can see. This side I got a pretty good beat. The other side's not as nice, but they're not too bad. But it's sealed. I also got over all the bolt holes, and then the back side's sealed as well. Now we don't have to worry about it. Probably should have left well enough alone, but I'd say it looks pretty good. Definitely a little bit of life breathed into it. Alright, so I'm starting work on this quarter panel, and I think I've got a backing made up here so I get something to stick the fiberglass to so it doesn't, like, you know, fall through. And so what I've got is naturally license plates, but what I did is I cut them into small pieces, and I was able to get them to slip up between the outer and the inner panel, so it kind of holds it without me having to, like, you know, try screw through this. I don't want to, like, mangle this up, right? So this will let me fill this with fiberglass and give me a nice base to put some putty over top of. I got this one filled pretty decent. This one's harder to get into because it's smaller, less rust. It's harder to get up between the panels. This should fill. I shouldn't have too much of an issue with this. We'll see. But we're going to try it. Alright, no more hole. I got to go on the back side, and I still got to fiberglass that up. But this, I'm going to let this cure before I do any of that. So that'll be tomorrow. So I was cleaning out the truck, and I found this in the center console. That would be an ES badge off of a Caravan. I figure, since we painted our intake chrome and red, I figure we have earned ourselves an ES trim level. So this is now a Town & Country ES. Okay, we're finally under here working on the four-wheel drive, or the all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive system, whatever you want to call it. And I've got the drive shaft unhooked from the torque tube here. And what is this guy right here? This guy must be something. I'll have to look at this diagram and figure out what it is. But this thing's got oil in it because it's got a seal. And it looked like on the back side here there was a plug that was sealed up too. I don't know. It seems like a... what do you want to call it? Because it'll let me free spin it backwards, but when I spin it forwards, it engages the all-wheel drive. And it seems to favor the right rear. That one seems to spin, but when I put my foot to it, it'll spin the left rear. So that, the rear diff and everything, that's all working fine. It seems okay. And if I spin the wheels backwards, it will spin this the other way, but then I can free spin it and it will spin faster. And that, I guess, that's kind of part of what lets the front and rear tires spin at different speeds and reverse? I don't know. I'm not quite sure about this piece right here, because the guy we're going for is back there, and I'm not exactly sure how this all comes apart. We're kind of figuring it out. My assumption was here, and I think I'm correct, but we pulled the drive shaft off the torque tube. We'll be able to unbolt the torque tube from the overrun clutch and be able to pull this off of it, and that will let us take the overrun clutch out. It'd be my guess, because then we'll unbolt that from the rear diff. But this seal seems, or is this a seal? It's a seal, right? It's not a bearing. I don't know. It's definitely got a seal to it, but it kind of looks like a bearing, doesn't it? I don't know. It sounds okay, whatever it is. It doesn't make any noise. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna keep on bolting. It's all 10 mil hardware here, and I've got a 3/8 on a 6-point. So I'm gonna start unbolting this whole guy. I don't know, something here is loose. Feel this right here. Can I get up here and look at this? What is this thing? Looks like a seal cover, and there's two of them. But this one spins free, whatever it is. It's loose. Looks like it's been loose for a while. This side's got one too, but it's not loose. Not really, anyway. I can kind of spin it, though. Whatever it is. Whatever. I think it's like a dust shield. I bet you that makes a noise. I bet you that does. I bet you that makes a rattling noise. Or a whirring noise. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to unbolt this from the overrun clutch, and then I think it's 15 mil hardware to get this isolator unbolted. Which the isolator's kind of shot, if I'm not gonna lie to you. It's the rubber's kind of but I don't think you can get this isolator, so it's like, well, whatever, it is what it is. So it's not too bad. I don't think I can't really. It's got rubber cushioning, that's okay. So like I said, I'm gonna unbolt that. I'll let you know what happens. Okay, little update. I got the torque tube unbolted from the overrun clutch and everything. I still have the isolator bolted up to hold it, but all of the vacuum system for the overrun clutches attached to the torque tube. So there's 3 little bolts you got to get at. Here, let me do this, do that. Boom, light. So first thing you want to do is get rid of the little vacuum canister, which is 2 10s up here. You can get at them pretty easy. And then I went to the little modulator, and there's a nut, so you'll need a deep well socket. That deep well 3/8 worked fine. Get up here, undo him. And then with that stuff out of the way and able to move, there is a tube here where your vacuum line comes in. And on the back side here, there are 2 10mm bolts. And they're kind of a pain to get at. But with this vacuum tube out of the way, you can get up here and do it. I had to switch from the deep well to a non-deep well socket, but I still was able to use the 3/8 and kind of work it out. And then there's a wire clip here that's got to be on the wires up there, or a plug. So this should come out, hopefully, after I undo the 2 isolator bolts, and I assume it'll come off of some shaft here. I mean, it has to be a shaft of some sort that attaches the torque tube to whatever drives it back here. I don't know. We're going to find out. So there's that. That's how at least we get to that point. And I think these are both 215 mils. Should be able to get at them and get them out no problem. I'm going to undo the bolts that bolt the overrun clutch to the rear diff. Also have a jack under there as well. When I do that, I got to get a screwdriver here and scrape all the grease off to find the bolts, but maybe that'll pull off of there. Otherwise, if that doesn't, we have to pull the whole rear diff and work our way in from there. Okay, so as it is typical, I'm doing everything wrong. Don't do what I just did. Everything indicates the rear drive assembly needs to be removed from the vehicle, which makes sense. It would make it a lot easier to pull this stuff apart. I do believe there's some snap rings and stuff holding some stuff together. So I'm going to try my best to carefully slide that case cover back over and put a bolt or 2 back in it. And then we're going to look to disconnect the CVs for the rear drive and lower the rear drive down to the ground. It's going to take me a bit, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, I got it back up and reattached. I got 2 bolts back in the overrun clutch going into the differential. That was a little bit of a pain to kind of get it to line back up, but it slid back in okay. So I did figure out what that's the viscous coupler right there, which makes sense in what it was doing. So we've got our rear drive shaft right here, which is undone. Then we've got our viscous coupler going into the torque tube, which goes into the overrun clutch, which goes into the rear diff. So to get the rear diff out, here's step one. Step 1, disconnect the drive shaft. Step 2 is going to be get the rear differential ready to go, which is pull the 2 CVs out, which are bolted in with a bunch of 13 mil hardware. So that's pretty easy. And then I think it's 2 13 mil bolts going into 2 mounts. There's one, and there should be another one over on the other side, I think. Unbolt those, and then it should drop down, no problem, I'm gonna assume. But before you do that, you're gonna want to still detach all of the vacuum stuff that we detached previously. I guess you could leave that all on there, and then all you do is unhook the electrical connection and the vacuum line going out. That would probably be the way to do it, and then you just drop it all as one piece. In which case you would still need to undo the 2 13s for that, which we've already done. We've got it on a jack. So what I'm going to do is disconnect the 2 CVs, and then I will get a jack underneath this guy, and we will start working on the 2 bolts going to the mounts for it. And then we should be able to lower the whole thing down, drag the whole thing out of here, and then we will go ahead and disassemble it, which should come apart a little easier now that we've had it apart. And then we'll figure out why this thing leaked all of that fluid out of it. It did still have some in it, it appeared, because we leaked it all over the ground and then I spilt it. So, but hopefully we'll be able to fix this. I do think it's all functioning. Hopefully it doesn't seem to have any like mechanical failures. So we should be okay. We'll take a look at it, but we'll get it down quick. I'll bring you back when that's done. Well, I figure since we had to do the brakes anyway, I'd take the risk, and I needed to hold the axles from spinning, so I pulled the parking brake, and it seems to have grabbed. I don't know if it released, but I guess we can find out. Pull the parking brake release. So I kicked it down. It pulls up. It might have worked. Holy crap. The parking brake works. Yeah, it's released. Let's see if it re-engages. Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it works. Oh, that's good. Parking brake works. Okay, that makes that easy. Got both CVs out of the way. They're both unbolted. Somebody definitely been there before. Look at those bolts. They're all anti-seized, which was nice. So, that's all done. I cracked the two bolts holding for the mounts for the rear diff, and now I've got a jack under it, and I'm going to undo those two mount bolts, and then I will lower the whole thing down, get it drug out of there, and then we'll really see what we're getting into. Alright, we got it on the run. I've got it lowering down, but there's a breather tube on top of the differential. See it right there? That needs to be undone real quick, so I'll undo that, and then it should come all the way down. Well, there it is. Yeah, you didn't have to undo any of this. You just had to undo the vacuum hose, which clearly I broke off. I just put that on there, too, and that hose already broke. And then the little connection. You want to keep this bolted up, because if this falls and this thing falls on top of it, you break this, good luck finding a replacement. Anyway, vacuum lines all look okay and everything, I think. Everything seems okay. Obviously, we don't know if any of this works. Now, I've got to get it up on a bench or something where I can disassemble it. That would be ideal. And I'm thinking we're going to have to pull the clutch. There's a clutch fork in here that we'll have to pull off. So we'll have to unbolt this, I think. I noticed on one of these bolts there was a tag on here, so somebody might have been in here. It was 0704. It was on the tag, I believe. Somebody might have been in here before. Who knows? Anyway, this is the... He's not too bad, but you can see it's not. He's got some play in him, but nothing serious. I think that'll be okay. Viscous coupler, as you can see, did some rolling when we rolled it out of here. But that all seems to still function. When I got it back together, this all works. So, we're looking pretty good. Here's that vacuum line or vent line that was on here. It just slid off. Mounts look okay. Alright, we'll get it apart, hopefully, and we'll see what's gone wrong in here, maybe. Alright, so we're doing some reading here, and they actually have a rear suspension leak diagnosis here. So they have two weep holes, which we noticed, or I noticed, where we had fluid coming out of. So we've got weep hole A at the front, which is, I guess I can show you, there should be a weep hole right down here. And then we've got weep hole B, which is down here, which is our problem. And ours started weeping when we filled the overrun clutch, so we knew that it was coming out of there. Anyway, they note that this weep hole could be fluid out of the diff or the overrun clutch, depending on if it's trans fluid or if it's gear oil. We know it was this because we filled this when it started leaking. And what this says is the rear overrunning clutch seal should be replaced. That's what we're going to do. So good. Anyway, this guy tells you all kinds of good stuff about this and how to diagnose stuff and blah, blah, blah. Very helpful. It's also going to tell you how to tear it all apart. Thumb through this real quick. This tells you how this all works, you know, blown out diagram, theory of operation. Somebody's been here. That's funny. I just noticed that somebody circled drive pinion seal. That's funny. So somebody must have had a rear leaking diff that had this book. Anyway, yeah, it shows you all kinds of good stuff. Here's a blown out diagram of the whole thing. Anyway, I'm just looking at getting this ready, getting ready to pull this apart for real. I've got it up here on some buckets. as you can see, if we look. Whole thing works. I've been spinning them all back and forth. Everything seems to operate. Our beautiful viscous coupler here seems to be doing everything it's supposed to be, which is nice. And this thing's a sealed unit, so it has fluid in here that is in there for life. It's like, what they say, like a silicone fluid. Looks like if you look here, you could probably unglue these, take these out, and fill it back up or something if you needed to rebuild one. But I'm not going to touch it. This might need to be addressed right here, though. That I guarantee you makes noise. And that's just the bearing dust shield. Otherwise, here's a really good close-up look of this whole all-wheel drive system. I did bolt all this stuff back down because it can stay there. And so what you have here is, obviously you have your drive shaft that bolts up here, and this is your viscous coupler right here. And then that bolts into the torque tube, which then has all the vacuum actuator stuff here. And this bolts into the overrun clutch housing, and then you've got your overrun clutch in here, but you also have a dog clutch, which is, this is the little shift fork for that dog clutch right here, and that's vacuum actuated. And then that obviously goes into your rear diff, which your two rear axles are bolted to. Yeah, this is a very thorough how-to on this, by the way. So they start here is, I was already on the right page. So as you go further into it, you require steps from the previous. Like, for example, it says how to remove, the first thing is how to remove the assembly from the vehicle. And then let's say step 2 is to remove the rear carrier from the driveline assembly, which step 1 is then remove the assembly, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, remove the driveline assembly, raise vehicle, remove the half shafts, we did that. Support the inner side, yeah, support them so that they're not hanging, got that, did that. Remove the mounting bolts from the rear side of the prop shaft, we did that. And we got the prop shaft down. I did put a jack underneath the prop shaft, which is the drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. Then remove the viscous coupling retaining nut and slide the coupling off of the rear driveline module. We haven't done that yet. That's my next step, is to pop this nut off and get rid of him. And then I think that's what was stopping me from sliding the whole assembly off of the rear diff while it was on the vehicle, is having that viscous coupling bolted up, I think. So I'm going to do that next. Pop this guy off like they told me to. And then we'll go from there, check back here, and just keep following this. This is a great book. I think I spent 30 bucks on this on eBay. This is very, very useful. The most useful book there is the OEM service manual. This is for a 91, but it's the same deal. All right, I got that nut off. I had to use the impact to do that. There was no way to do that by hand because, well, when you spin it, this spins. So you hold this, and then when you hold this, the bearing spins because the viscous clutch allows it to spin, whatever. This bearing in here starts to spin. Anyway, there's some green fluid, or grease in here, so that's cool, I think. So we're going to slide that guy off. As you can see, it's going to pop off no problem. And that'll be step 2, 3, or I guess, whatever. The viscous clutch has been removed. Okay, the viscous coupler is removed. Here's that first seal for this guy. Bearings both feel in great shape. Everything looks good on this bad boy. You know, I don't see anything abnormal. As you can see, it's just on our shaft here. And then this is your torque shaft inside of your torque tube. Anyway, here's that seal that's doing the whole spinny spin. I'm assuming he's not supposed to do that. I wonder if a guy can't tap this one of these little guys in and just snug him up or something. I don't know. Anyway, I do believe the next step is to remove this snap ring that's in here. And this snap ring should let me pull everything out, I think. I'll double check. I'll let you know either way what ends up occurring. I guess for now I'll throw this nut back on here so I don't lose him. So everything looking good here so far. Oh, there we go. Okay. Boom. Okay, so what do we got going on here? We have things There's a roller in here. This looks like it's on a shaft here with a snap ring. I'll have to look up what this guy is specifically, but he does things, I guess, right? This is probably what engages it, right? So it grabs same sort of thing in there. Anyway, there's a seal right there, and this seal doesn't look very good either, does it? Look at that. That seal's tore. So I'm thinking this seal's no good either. Granted, I think this is where we were getting our leakage from. So, what do we got going on in there? Can I pan you guys over? So we got a snap ring, and then we have a guy, and then we have more stuff and more things. And this is the case, so I'm assuming that the seal will butt up to this in some form, and that's what seals it up, maybe? I'm not quite sure how this seals, to be honest with you. Because how does this whole thing seal? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on the operation of this. But I will go back to the book, and I will see if I can figure that out. I stand corrected. I think that is the rear overrunning clutch seal. So, and that would make sense too, because that's part of the end of the overrunning clutch. And then there's a weep hole at the... Whatever. Anyway, so what I'm going to say here is that we're looking here at the diagram, and we have the drive pinion seal and the overrunning clutch seal. So we have the whole case assembly. There's that nut. After we have this big guy, this big gear, which is this guy. And then we have that nut. And then it looks like you have the rear overrun clutch seal, and then butted up to it is the drive pinion seal just on the other side. So that bad seal we're looking at should be our rear overrun clutch seal. How the weep hole works, that it will leak differential fluid if the diff seal is bad, I don't know how that is in there. Whatever, it is what it is. The overrun clutch seal is this one that we're looking at that's all tore up, based on this diagram right here. Which is good. That means we've found the issue. Clearly, that one is obvious. That one is a pretty obviously bad seal. Yeah, he's all tore up. So, we will work to get that guy out. I think I just have to remove the snap ring in here. Pop this guy off. Obviously, that big nut's got to come off. And then we should be able to access the seal, I think. Alright, yep, it's exactly what I thought. So we got to remove the snap ring, pull this guy off. I don't know how I'm going to get that nut off, because you're supposed to have a special tool that slides over the splines and attaches to a wrench, or like a ratcheting wrench, and then you should be able to pop the nut. I don't know how I'm going to do that. But we can at least get the snap ring off, right? There we go. Don't launch him to outer space. And in theory, this guy should come off now. Yes, it does. I don't want to contaminate him too bad, so we'll just set him up there for now. There, use these rags. And bam, we are one step closer. But we need to be able to get that guy off. So we should have a tool that should be able to go onto those splines to hold that while we spin the nut, or crack the nut loose. That makes sense. I'm going to have to sit and think about how I'm going to do that. But here's a really good look at how bad this seal is. So there's our seal. There's what he's supposed to look like. And then all the way across the top, it's completely ripped up. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, so the first seal I ordered was definitely the wrong seal. It's another seal in the... Well, so what I did is I looked at the overrun clutch assembly, and it listed a seal inside. Now, what it didn't list is this seal, because this seal for the overrun clutch is technically in the differential. So I think I have the front seal for the overrun clutch. I'd have to look to verify. It doesn't matter. This is in the differential, so you had to look at the differential kind of parts diagram to find this. And from what I read, this seal is sold in a kit with the other seal. And I believe it's 4637109. Off the top of my head should be the part number for it. I was able to find a new old stock one without any pictures attached, so I bought it without asking. So we'll see when that shows up if that's correct. But I also went and I ordered one of these tools on eBay. There's a couple of them on eBay. I paid like 16 bucks. We'll see when it gets here. So that's cool, I guess. So that means I'm waiting another week, probably. Which is fine, I guess. Alright, I got the putty sanded down. I think we're doing pretty good here. Got a bit of a body line there. It's harder to see without primer on it, but it's there. There's a couple spots here where I had some low spots, you can see here. And that's where spot putty comes in. So we're going to go over and we'll just touch up. There's a low spot right here. I think that I can sand out of it real quick. There's a little bit of a groove there. Otherwise, right here, 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 and there, we'll just glaze right over it quick. And then we'll sand that down really quick after that dries. And that should be good for primer. Looks pretty good, I would say. A lot better than that big rust hole that was here and here. Alright, got the spot putty applied here. Let that harden up for quite a bit. That stuff dries decently fast. So, and then we'll sand that back down, and that should fill all of our low spots. So that should be pretty good. I do want to mix up some fiberglass real quick and do the back side here. Just kind of seal that up a little better because it's not sealed at all. So we'll do that. And that I'm not gonna like sand down or anything, but like, you know, we'll kind of hide that before we spray it with some fluid film black. That way, what you don't want is stuff to get up in between those panels again. That's the idea. Looks good from the pretty side. How about that? We're looking pretty good here. Got this side's got the spot putty, so that's the last of the Bondo in theory. The other side, we've only got fiberglass. I'm just gonna sand this fiber. This is left over from padding the inside of this. That's just gonna get sanded. That's not a big worry to me as long as this looks nice. Otherwise, we're gonna wait for that to dry today. In theory, I think it would be sandable right now, but I'm done sanding today. We're gonna work on getting the axle dropped and the leaf springs out of here, I do believe. So, process here is we need to replace the shocks. So first thing we're gonna do is remove the shocks on both sides. And then we need to get the van jacked up. We need to get stands up underneath the body instead of on the axle like it currently is. Then we need to get a jack under the axle. Be ready to drop that. And at that point, we have to, well, before we unbolt those, we have to deal with the brakes, get the brake lines undone from the axle so we can drop it. And then I've got some plugs I'll screw into them after we undo the lines and then snap all the lines off naturally. And then once we get the brakes done, I do believe we have ABS lines we have to unhook. So that'll be a treat, I'm sure. I'm sure there'll be no problems getting the ABS sensors out of the hubs or anything like that. Won't be a problem at all. No, I can't see that coming. Probably have to unplug it from the body. We'll see. Once that's done, we have to think about, honestly, with the ABS stuff, I might just undo it from the brackets and let it hang. It's not like I'm pulling the axle out. I'm just dropping it so we get the springs out. I was gonna probably do the same thing with the parking brake. I don't want to pull that apart if I don't have to. And we'll just let it hang. And once that's all loose, we'll be able to unbolt the front shackle and the rear shackle on both sides. We're unbolting it from the body. We're not going to take apart the shackles. We're not playing that game. And then, in theory, it should drop out. We'll have to do the leaf spring bolts right there. I'm sure that'll be fun. That won't be a problem at all either. Don't foresee that at all. So I'm going to start spraying some of these bolts and this hardware, getting ready to pull all of it out. Then we'll get the shocks out of the way, etc. Alright, both the shocks came out. Yeah, they were both pretty bad. Got the brackets off of the parking brake guys there. These little guys right here, they are the same bracket. I've got the axle zip tied up, and as you can see, I've got the brake hoses and lines undone. Both brake lines snapped, as expected. The last thing we got to do here before we start thinking about lowering the vehicle is undoing the ABS sensor right here, which hopefully will come out. We'll see. You know, I went through all that effort of tying up those axles. I wasn't thinking, how are we going to slide the CVs past that? Or not the CVs, the leaf springs. Or not. That's a trick question. So those actually do got to come out. So good thing our parking brake works. So we're going to go ahead and I guess get these axle nuts off. Which, by the way, I realized why those axle bolts were anti-seized. See this nice new nut here? Now if you notice up here, I noticed this earlier. See all this grease flung up here? The CV's been done. At least it had a new boot put on it because that boot's good to go and it had axle grease all over the body. So somebody worked on it, so hopefully that'll come out. Yeah, I wasn't thinking we'll have to take those out and make it easier anyway. They're out of the way. Yeah, that one did not want to come out. So clearly only the driver's side axle had been worked on. That one I think has been there for 30 years. That took a very, very lot of heat, and I shocked it with some water actually at one point here, and then a lot more heat, and then a fully charged impact, and that did it. The cheater bar and the everything did not work. Anyway, I got that one off of there. The other side came off easy, no problem with that new nut and everything. But that one been on there a while. See how much it takes to bang it out of there, and hopefully I didn't cook the bearing or anything because I put a lot of heat into here. So, all right, well the CVs are essentially out, I guess. We'll consider that. And then we should. I was gonna leave. I was thinking. I tried that bolt on the driver's side, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna snap if I try any harder. So I think I'm just gonna disconnect all of the stuff and let the lines hang as much as they can, and that'll be that. And then I think we're gonna get the jacks up under the body and then raise it off of this, and then we're gonna lower the axle and get these bolts whizzed out quick. Well, the U-bolts are all out. We had a few casualties. Broke one on this side and two on the other side, but we got them out. It doesn't matter. You're not supposed to reuse them anyway, and not like we were gonna anyway. It took the threads with them when they came out. So, now we'll just lower the axle. I've got jack stands here, and if it wants to, it should pull off of the leaf springs, but I've got a feeling it's going to take some hammering to pop those loose, but we'll see if the weight of the axle can pop it loose first. Well, the van is lowered. It's sitting on, so what I ended up using, because of this hitch in here, I used that flat spot there where they got the metal bent over on both sides. That seems to be a decent spot to hold. It's holding anyway. The axle is floating. That jack is not touching it, and we're still attached. Like I figured, they're pretty rust welded in there. It's going to take some hammering. But anyway, I figured I'd show you this. See that? Small problem. Right there. This axle's sitting a lot lower than the other side because it's literally not held up by anything. So, nice. So, I guess I'm going to start beating away at these U-bolts and the leaf springs and see if I can smack them loose. Otherwise, it's pretty well out. My goal here is to try keep the axle up underneath it because I don't want to have to pull this. I mean, this is the only thing holding the axle here, I guess. If I can get it out, sure, but I don't want to break that bolt off. I really, 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 really don't want to do that. Not to mention that that guy's never coming out of there. That guy's, I'm sure he's rusted in there good. Without ruining that sensor, he's rusted in that bore. I don't want to touch it. If I could trace this back, this goes up into there. I mean, we could try find the plug, but you pull this thing out, it's never going back in there, that's for sure. But the plug's probably up in here somewhere. Whatever. Alright, the price goes up once again. So, this is not gonna happen. So, I'm gonna need to drop the leaf springs with the axle attached, which means we have to disconnect the parking brake, which that's not gonna be a big deal. We have to pull the brakes apart anyway. But I started with the ABS sensor that I knew was going to be a problem. Step one was snapping off the bolt. Whatever, we can drill that out. We can even line it up really well because we'll just go through the back side where there's, you know, an open port. I tried. It didn't come out, you know. I tried. Step 2 was snapping the plastic off on the ABS sensor. So that's okay. I was like, well, maybe we can get the plastic piece out and re-glue it. It snapped in the most convenient spot where if you can get the plastic, you can glue that back in. I've done that before. But here's how it came out. I had to heat it up and then beat it with a screwdriver. It was just so, look at the rust. So what happens is this hole kind of rusts and it constricts and it squeezes that guy in there, and it's just, you know, he's locked in there. So I got to do that on the other side. I got a feeling it's going to be the exact same deal. So now I'm going to have to hunt down some ABS sensors. That's great. I doubt those are going to be something that can be bought new for a price, even if they can be. So that's fantastic. Okay, I got the brakes disassembled on both sides. I got the parking brake cables out on both sides, no casualties. So that was a pain in the butt, but it all came out. Both of the bottom springs were broke off. Well, this one was broke. The other side I broke. This wheel cylinder is beyond cooked. So that's nice. Hardware is all shot pretty well. This adjuster was free. That's cool. And I got this ABS sensor out. It came out the same way, except the screwed-in brake. That's the only positive thing here, is a screwed-in brake on this side. Otherwise, it's all out. This wheel cylinder is, like, less shot. I haven't opened it up, but might as well open it up live. How bad is this one? Come on. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Nice and muddy. My hands are clean, too, and I'm doing this. My bad. Whatever. Oh, hey, look, fluid. That boot was doing a lot of work, clearly. Yeah, they're shot. So, all right, next thing is to literally just drop the leaf spring shackle bolts, and the whole thing should come down to the ground in one piece. It's completely disconnected from everything else. Once again, I win and you lose. So, there she is. She's on the ground. That's where it's going to stay, because I don't have the room to drag it out right now. So what I'm going to have to do is drag it out and flip this thing over and beat on those U-bolts until they come out. So, that's the next problem, but that is not a problem for today. I don't care to do that. Here's the whole reason this is occurring, and here's the big dollar signs right here, is this here. And this has been broke for a very, 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 very long time. As you can see here, as you can see here, this has been broke for a long time. And as you can see, it's been vibrating back and forth. It's wearing this rubber out. But, yeah. Actually, it broke right here. That makes more sense. It broke right there. But even so, look how rusty that is. That's been broke for a very, very long time. Anyway, this throws your alignment out. This does all kinds of weird crap. I'm sure it could make a weird bounce when you go over bumps. I don't know, as it does things. But at the very least, it's going to kick your alignment out, because it's going to throw this whole thing out of whack. But that is a problem right there. That needed to be addressed. There was no way around that. That needed to be fixed. So, it's out. And brakes are apart, so that's good to go. We had to do that anyway. We just got to pull the wheel cylinders off that. And I'm not doing the bearings. Bearings seem okay. However, see this little piece of rubber here? The inner seal here seems to have decided to leave the chat. I noticed it fall out when we were hanging on the U-bolts. When I suppose. Yeah, we'll see how long that bearing lasts. But here's the thing. That can be taken care of with it together, so you can get at those bolts, it looks like. So we will worry about that some other year. This bearing is good. The other bearing feels less good, but okay. So they feel okay. Otherwise, this is a very good opportunity. I will lower the full-size spare out of here, and while this is all down and apart like this, we'll go in here, we'll clean this up, and we will undercoat it with some fluid film black, get into every little piece we can here, try to knock off all this loose crap back here as well. It's pretty rusty back in these corners right here. the rear quarters are. We'll get in here, we'll knock as much of the loose stuff out, we'll just coat it real good, try to slow it down. Notice the bump stops are gone here. We don't need those where we're going. But yeah, otherwise, there, she's all out. It came apart, I guess. The only thing I'm worried about is sourcing these ABS. But ABS sensors, but we can take care of that after it's all back together as well. It can run without those, if need be. However, even though these leafs are bad, I'm gonna look into at some point when I've got these leafs out of here and apart, is saving these rear shackles if they're savable. Let's see what I can do to get them apart, because rear shackles on these Caravans are unobtainium, and if you can have some good ones, that would be nice. So, very good. I figured down south you could just pull these at a yard and they just come apart. Not up here, usually. Alright, I got the spot putty all sanded down. I think it's about where I want it. If I try to push that body line anymore, I'll be pushing my luck. So I think I got it pretty good for what it was. Looks pretty decent. As you can see, the spot putty is just to fill the low spots. I could have sanded this a little more, but I think it's alright where it's at. But as you can see, it kind of filled all of these low spots we were talking about. So that should do. I think it's ready to get a coat of primer put on it here, and we'll see how it evens out and how it looks. But it looks pretty good, I think. A lot better than that rust. Alright, so here we are. Like I said, it would show imperfections if they were there. Look at this little pinhole that showed up. We'll have to fill him when this primer dries. I'll put a little bit of spot putty on that. Otherwise, it's not too bad. You can kind of see the waviness in that line. I'm not very good at getting a perfect body line, as you can see. I think with a lot more effort and time and some more layers of spot putty and kind of sitting there and perfecting it, I think we'd be okay. That's about the worst spot right there, because that was that low spot I had to sand, and as you can see, I got a little wave in it. Otherwise, it's not too bad. It'll look a lot better when it's the same color, less noticeable. But there's a body line there, you can see it. Not two giant rust holes right there and there. So I'll let that dry up pretty good. We'll get a little spot putty, we'll fill that little hole there. And then I think we're looking pretty good. Alright, passenger side fiberglass all sanded down. I think I'll be able to get away with just some spot putty here. The whole, it's not too bad, and this side wasn't that bad. It just had a little channel of rust here, which we filled, clearly. So we got some pinholes here and some low spots right about there. Then a little bit down here that'll be tough to get in here while keeping the bumper kind of looking deep. Oh, and then right over here we had some pitting that needs filled. So I think we'll try to get away with just spot putty. Alright, got this muffler out. I had to cut a slice in it and then beat it off until it came loose, and I was able to pry it, because it used to have a clamp there. So it was squished down, but we got it. Okay, so this is like plan G, but this worked. I flipped it back over, and we've got these cut out now, and the spring is moving. I think a little bit of hammering on these guys and knocking them out of the way, and this one too, I think we'll have it out of here. Well, we got the good one out. Oh, yeah, that was a bit of a pain. A little bit of hammering, clearing, and then just ripping up on the thing and using the weight of the axle to slam it down to break it out of there. But it's out. That spring's still good. I'm going to hang on to it. It's an all-wheel drive leaf spring, so now it's just the broken side. Got him. I win.
And that'll do it for this week's episode on the 1994 Chrysler Town and Country. So stay tuned for next week when we get that overrun clutch seal replaced, as well as get the rear suspension fixed and installed back on the vehicle, and a few other small bits that we have to do to put this van back together and get it back on the road once again. So make sure you like the video and subscribe for more. I will see you all next video.